Okay. All right. We're still previewing. Oops. Where'd it go? Hang with me. I don't know if we start echoing like that. I have no idea.
Okay, mine says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Oh, good. Well, that's great. You're in better shape than me then.
It's there. I won anyway.
There. Can you see me? Okay. We are great.
Yeah.
Collective breath.
Right? Gotta give it up.
And we are live, and this is Forever After That. And today I am your host, Diana Beyersdorfer. We have a guest, Sally De La Rosa. We're going to be talking all about just the mystical happenings of life after, how do we want to put that? The experiences of spirit, the experiences of, in particular, Steve, my husband, who passed about 3.5 years ago. And so we're going to draw that in. Sally has had experiences with Steve also. So we're going to kind of draw in our experiences tonight. We're going to talk about Sally and all of the incredible experiences and mediumship and all the things that are going on. So Sally, welcome to the show tonight.
It's so good to be here. I am happy to do this with you. Very happy. You know how I feel about you, and you know how I feel about Steve. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even never having met this man, not personally, I got that love for him.
You met him in the most beautiful way. And that's what's incredible is it's such a miracle when we open up to spirit that way and we really experience them in the truth of who they are, which is the truth of us, is that all encapsulating love that he brings into the space. So I remember that one night that you were doing a show and I came on the show with you and suddenly you just started crying because you felt the energy of Steve. So now if you could go ahead and talk about that.
I have never felt anything so intense as I did that. And when he just did that and he allowed me to feel the love that he had for you, what an immense a trust that he had in me that I could do this and portray this to you in such a way that you would get it right off the bat. You just knew. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, like he's doing tonight. So he is definitely with you on this.
Yeah. And that's what, I think it's important for us to remember that when I started to do this show and I started to think about it, and it's been in the making for a long time. I've just been pushing it back. It was so funny the other day because he's like, it's about time you caught up. Because I know that this is something that he's wanted to do for a long time. He still has a voice. It's a big story, I've written about it and it's such a miracle to be able to really from very, very shortly after he passed was the experience of just being able to sense him and feel him and to allow him into the space. And I'm going to do that because I'm a little bit, it's been difficult getting all this set up tonight. So I really want to invite right now, let's invite those angels, invite Steve, invite the presence of spirit here. Anyone that wants to join us for our highest of good and just to kind of ground and be still for just a little bit and just allow that. I can feel that shift in me. And that's so much better. Thank you. Just bringing that presence of spirit in, that loving presence into this space with us, because that's really what this show is all about, is allowing that feeling of oneness.
Oh, yes, I agree. That's what experiencing spirit is all about. It's always done out of love. I mean, there's bad times out there, but 98% of the time it's out of love. It's our loved ones. They've never left us and they just want us to know that they're with us.
Right.
Still very much a part of our lives. Mm-hmm. And he is part of your life.
Mm-hmm. The title of the show is Forever After That, and that's what it's all about, because he used to tell me that I will love you until the day that I die, and then forever after that. And that's exactly, he just held his end of the deal. That's what I tell him all the time. I remember when it came close to the time that he was going to die, I went into the bed and he was laying in, he died right in our room, in our bed. And I went in beside him and I sat on a little stool beside the bed. And I reached up and I took his hand. And it was in one of those moments that he was able to communicate because he had kind of lost that ability with all the medications. but he was kind of with it that day. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this all by myself. And he just looked at me and he said, you're not going to be all by yourself. And I cried because I was so sure that he was dying at that point. I was like, oh, yes, I am going to be all by myself. But he meant it, you know, like he couldn't control the fact that he knew that he was going. He told him, he wouldn't talk to me about it, but he talked to other people about it. He knew that he had to go. And yet he also knew that there was nothing that was going to keep him from my side even after he passed. And he sure didn't. You know, it was within just a couple of days, he would just come up behind me. I would feel him wrap himself around me to the point where, you know, the feeling that you had with that love that you felt, I just couldn't talk. I would have to tell him after a while, I'm like, okay, you got to ease up a little bit. I can't breathe. Like,
Absolutely. The first time I met you, the first time I watched you grow. And, you know, without even knowing this is what I was doing, I just kind of stumbled into a conversation with you and someone else, and I could just feel you. I could feel your heartbreak. And I didn't feel worry. I didn't feel like there was any need to worry. I felt like he was there already, but I just wasn't sure what I was feeling and experiencing at that time. And then all of a sudden, I just started watching you open up and blossom and pick yourself up. And it was the most beautiful thing to watch a friend do, you know, and to watch a person, you know, who has succumbed to such sadness. And then all of a sudden, know for a certain that without any doubt, that loved one is still very much a part of your life. And to see it just pick you right back up and move you on. And you did. And look at you. An amazing testimony to we can do this.
It's not easy work. I'll give you that. You know, I really feel like when we go through these things, we have the choice. We can either just say, well, I'm done. You know, I'm just going to sit here. And I remember feeling many times I go out for a walk and it's like, there is no way that I'm going to live through this. My heart is absolutely ripping in half. And there's no way that I can live with this kind of pain. But the work came on my bathroom floor. I was like, you know what? I'm going to find a way. I was so determined. I was so in love with this man. And I'm like, I'm not going to lose you. Somehow I'm going to find a way to still be able to communicate with you. So I sat on that bathroom floor for hours. My kids used to call it Narnia. They'd say, oh, mom's back in Narnia again, because I'd be gone. But it was where I really, really learned to deeply meditate. It's where I learned who I really am. And what I was capable, you know, it was the beginning of really finding myself, because I went in there looking for Steve and I came out knowing me. Like I found that higher self part of me, the part of me that didn't have any pain. And then I started discovering angels and guides and, you know, all of these and source. So once I opened myself fully to Steve made that, I really believe that he gave me that pathway, that easier. He kind of put me on a fast track. It was like I experienced the sense of him, and through experiencing that spirit so close to me, it was like I was just wide open. He blasted my heart, you know, and there was no turning back, and I just haven't.
Absolutely. Once you spread those wings and you took off, it was it. You know, so
that was our plan.
It's fun to watch. It is. It's fun to watch. So, you know, but yeah.
He's not done. He's got plenty. He's got things that I don't know what this is. And many times I would question him, like, why are you staying so close? Why is this, you know, what do you got for me? What are we supposed to be doing? And I remember one time he was like, well, I'm picking up the pieces, or, you know, I could see him building things and I'm like, what is he up to? And now in this part of my life, I'm seeing where those things 3 years ago that he was trying to put into place are
He's actually showing me a movie clip right now. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this title right. The Glass House.
Glass House.
With Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves.
Lake House.
The Lake House, that one.
We've watched that before.
Well, he's showing me this house. This is what your relationship is like.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I really believe that, because I've spent a lot of time, like in that movie I was drawn to after he passed. So I really believe that is.
Absolutely. Eventually, like in the end, eventually you'll come together again.
Right. This is just a temporary separation. And in time, when the time is right. And in the meantime, he's here and he's helping and he's building, and he's still, that's something that he really wants to make clear to people. It's like he's hitting me with it right now. It's like, I'm still at work, man. I'm still working. People say, well, rest in peace. He says there is no rest on the other side. We are light workers here. We're light workers there. And he's still
Absolutely.
very much at work.
Oh, yes. Everything we are here, we're true to ourselves there.
Mhm.
Minus the bad negative parts.
That's right.
We're not going to be up there on a cloud somewhere having a temper tantrum. It's just not going to happen like that.
Right.
So,
He was a fixer, so he's still fixing. And it's not just to me, because I know he's come to so many different people trying to make himself known, trying to show, like, I'm still here. And for a while I felt like, oh, this is my Steve, my husband, but then very quickly I realized, oh, he's not just doing this for me, he's doing it for so many others. And when he does come in, when you do experience that love that he brings into the room, you're never the same.
no,
it will change you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. It does. Absolutely. I do agree with that. It does. It heals you.
Yeah.
It heals you. It does in this really strange way. It just does. It gets in there and it like takes care of things. It moves things out of the way. So, I do owe some of this to him too. Absolutely.
Well, if you knew him in life, he came in, I was a mother of 6. I'd been through an abusive marriage. I was like, nobody's ever going to want me. That's what my ex-husband would say. You might as well just stay in this relationship. Nobody else is ever going to want you. And it didn't matter how awful he was. He just expected, since I had 6 kids, nobody was going to want me. Steve came along and he just was head over heels like that. It was like we were instantly connected. I knew him before I even knew him. It was like, I loved him before I ever physically met him. I just knew him immediately. And he was a fixer. He just set about fixing whenever anything was broken, whether it was a physical thing or an emotional thing. With my kids, we all came away with a lot of PTSD, and he just set about fixing us. And that was the person that he was in life. And so multiply that by, now he doesn't have any limits anymore. He's like, you want a rainbow? Okay, here's your rainbow. He just, nothing stops him.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of how it was with Tony and I. We just met each other, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was like an explosion happened, and everything just made sense from there on. And it's just been an uphill, not uphill, but a really, we've gone up. We've just gone up.
Just keep moving.
We've grown, absolutely. And it just happens like that when you give yourself over to spirit and just say, take the wheel. And I can't control this anymore. Your life changes in unsurmountable ways. Spirit finds a way to make sure all your needs are there and met.
Isn't that beautiful?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just let it go. Exactly.
Yeah, just relax. This does not have to be a hard thing. It doesn't. I've drawn tarot cards that have said
supposed to be hard. This is supposed to be easy. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves.
We are, but we think that in every aspect of our life it has to be difficult, but it really doesn't. Nothing has to be as hard as we think it does.
Isn't it so nice when you can realize that? When you're like, wait a minute. I've been working at this so hard for so long. I'm just not going to work anymore. I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to let it just come. And as soon as I did that, because I was pushing so hard, I was in California and I was like pushing so hard to make something work, and nothing that I did was going to work. It just wasn't right. It wasn't going to work. The second I got that child into a car, and I was so afraid. I was like, what if we break down? I'm by myself with a 12-year-old child going all the way from California. I had no idea where I was coming. I didn't have a house here yet. I mean, I could have gone back to New York, but I knew that this is where I was supposed to be. But as soon as I turned the car in that direction, I just let go. Like, I just was like, all right, if you want me to go there, you keep giving me the push to go to the mountains. This is where I'm going to go. And as soon as I got here, if I could tell you, I mean, it's so miraculous how all the pieces fell into place. And not only did I drive, like the first full day here, I drove up and I saw the house that I had seen in my vision in California. Drove up right in front of the house. When I finally had the guts to call about the house, which took me some time, I'll tell you, I still was fighting it. The person that I met in the house was also supposed to be a part of my life. And so it was just like he had all these pieces put into place, and all I had to do was let go and come. And then it was like, oh, I get the full package. I get the castle and the prince. I got it all. You know, like,
Right.
how could you
Yeah.
put that
So,
together
and
any better?
congratulations about that too, by the way. So absolutely, once you let go, it's amazing the miracles that happen.
Yeah.
And they're right in front of your eyes. And, it's amazing.
And we just don't
Like,
want to believe it.
right. Like doing
Yeah.
that experiment with Terry the other day with asking for the signs.
Mhm.
And it wasn't even 3 hours later, we went to work and every light was on. And I'm telling you, this place is filled with overhead lights. They're everywhere. And
Mhm.
out of all the lights that were on, only one square of lights went out. All 4 bulbs in that one light went out. And I looked at Tony and said, our sign. And I said, oh, okay, if this is our sign, I'd like you to turn the lights back on. 4 minutes later, those lights went right back on, all on their own.
That's
So
incredible.
it was, waiting for those signs that, spirit is there, God is there,
Yeah.
there with us.
And we doubt ourselves, isn't it funny how we're like, so obvious. I just know that my spirit guides are probably sitting around going, oh, geez, we're making this so easy for you.
Right. I'm pretty sure mine took a Prozac a time or two. I'm sure, because oh my gosh, my transition wasn't nice. And someone I got into a conversation with, and they said, I think it was Geraldine and Terry that said, you either seem to walk through fire or you seem to float. And I'm not a floater. I walked through fire all the way for 7 years. So I've only been accepting of all this for 7 years.
Yeah.
So, what a big transition my life was since. Other than that, I did it, but it was funny, look what I can do. It's a trick,
Yeah.
That was about it. Didn't really take it serious until my sister passed away. And then
That changes everything.
Everything. She was by far the hardest that I've ever had to lose, was a sibling. I lost my father 3 months before. And even though that was hard, it wasn't as hard as my sibling was. But my sister was 11 months older than me, and she was also gifted. But she was accepting her whole life, and I was not. I started right out with the death dreams. I didn't want nothing to do with that, no. And so I kind of ran from it, but just, after my sister passed away, I said, I'm going to check this out.
Yeah, she was probably right there kind of getting you moving too. She was like, no, okay, all right, it's time for you to get serious now.
Yes, absolutely. And there was one time where she came to me in a sleep and she hugged me. And I was bawling so hard that Tony woke me up, and I was like, why would you do this? I didn't want to lose that hug. And then it took her 2 years to come back. And when she came back in a way that I was in the middle of changing my whole house around, all the furniture, everything. So spring cleaning, all of it. And all of a sudden I had the urge to go in my office and call my little sister up and tell her, I need to do this reading for you right now. So she's like, okay, let me sign on. She got signed on. I did this reading. My sister stepped in. Stepped in, and she had told us everything that had happened. So there's some good things that come from spirit, and there's some things that you have to know, but you have to deal with in order to move on. And through listening to her talk through her reading, she was actually murdered.
Oh gosh.
So her husband got away with it, and he actually pulled the best crime, because he got her entire family to come to their house, which was several states away, and clean up the place afterwards with bleach. And we never questioned it. So she was trying to talk to us and trying to let us know what had happened, but it was already too late, we had done the inevitable, but didn't think about, we were doing it innocently, not thinking this at all could be a thing. And so spirit does come through, and they come through with messages that are wonderful and beautiful to hear, but they also can come through with some messages that you need to deal with, and they can be kind of harsh sometimes, especially when they're about ourselves, or somebody so connected to us.
Mhm.
and it's even harder.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you're able to, that you're so sensitive that you're able to pick up on those messages. You know, that's the thing is I think oftentimes, even if we've got that mediumship, we don't hear necessarily, you know, so you're quite skilled to be able to get that, have that communication with your sister like that. Does she still come through to you, or is she pretty much?
Yep, she comes through. I have recently found out that most of my spirit team is actually family members from my father's side.
Wow.
Both of my families, both maternal and paternal, are both very gifted.
Mhm.
My paternal family being the stronger of the two. So they're coming through more as my guides than my maternal family. My maternal grandfather, which I've never had a grandparent, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, I met for 15 minutes and then she passed away that night when I was 7. So
Oh.
I've never really had a grandparent, but I can track this all the way back to 2 when everybody would leave to go to school and so on. And I was by myself. Um, I could see this man that would always keep me company. I would take up the whole upstairs was mine. I would play my sister's records, the monkeys, and I'll jump all
Mhm.
over her bed and just have a free for all upstairs. And I would always know to watch for her at a certain time. She would come home and I would make her bed up and turn the records off. And, but this man was up there keeping me company.
Mhm.
40 years later, plus, my daughter introduces me to Ancestry.com, and there's this man
Oh
that
gosh.
kept me company. He was my mother's father. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so he was my confidant, my friend, early in years. And it just skyrocketed from there. It just went on. But both families were very gifted, and my paternal is actually most of my main spirit guide is my Tia. She
Mhm.
comes through, my Tia Janie, and she was actually our family's Mary Poppins.
Mm.
So she kind of floated from family to family.
Yeah.
And my main spirit guide, and then I have my Tio, her brother, and my father. He's kind of like for support. He's
Mhm.
there for support. And then my sister kind of hangs out for her support, just the same to kind
Mhm.
of instruct me and guide me here and there.
Oh, hold on. She's telling me how to do this the right way. Top right corner, top right on Zoom, click on where it says speaker view. Mine says gallery view. Look at that. Look at us now. We're side by side, just like the Brady Bunch. Thank you, Terry.
There we are.
I can't really pay attention to all these. It's so nice that we've got these little angels, real life angels keeping track of us, isn't it? So now we can see what we're doing. So that's incredible to me, your abilities. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Oh, good. You were being quiet. Um, I have a little girl who's the same like you, except she kind of shut it down. But she was the same as playing. Like my grandmother would come play, and she had a scary one that would show up. And so at about 5, she stopped. Did you ever go through anything like that where you were like, no, this is scary. I
Yep.
don't want to have anything to do with
Yes,
it.
absolutely. Yeah. Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. And then I did that inevitable thing as a child and played with a Ouija board and didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And I didn't like the answer it gave me. So I kind of just tossed it aside and never touched it again, not knowing what I was doing. You have to
Yeah,
wait for them to properly close themselves out.
yeah, it's
Gotta
like a
stop
portal.
doing that. So yeah, I left a porthole open and yeah, so um I think I kind of secured that, but being a light worker as well, I have come to realize that negative things are actually attracted to us.
Mhm.
So, because they don't want us to shine, they don't want our lights to shine. So they try to kind of put it out as
Mhm.
often as they can, So a lot of protection has to go with this stuff as well. A lot of
Mhm.
protection.
Right, I agree. You learn all of that first, and some of us aren't so good. I think for me, it was learning how to, because at first, when I first started becoming more spiritual, more awake to these abilities, and I'm nowhere near you with mediumship. I can feel and sense and hear Steve. I don't see him. I've seen him a couple of times. He's let me see what he looks like now, but I feel everything. And so I'll go places and it'll be like I was at a cabin up here that I really, really love, that's really close to where I live. I go there and I visit often, and it's actually where I put Steve's ashes, some of them. So it's like a sacred site to me. And the other night I was there and I was walking out and I was by myself when I went to that cabin, and I went to take pictures, and I felt it. This energy just all of a sudden was coming at me, and it was not nice. And usually all I feel is nice stuff there. And it was like, whoa. So it's even worse to be me than the fact that I feel them, but I can't see them coming at me. I don't know what this is. I was just like, okay, yeah, you stay here. I don't really want to take you home with me. I'll come back and visit another time, but don't come home with me, because that's what it felt like. It was like, okay, I'll come with you.
Was you by a creek that day?
Yes.
That's when he was with you.
That's when Steve?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that was Steve that was there, because that felt stressful to me. But that is the place. Like, he was with me that day.
He was with you.
That's his place.
There was others, but he was with you. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like he's with me to protect me. It's like, he's like, nope. Like I started asking for help. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to bring this home with me. And then I felt a calm. It's like, no, it's okay. And so I really feel like oftentimes he's like the guardian. He's like, nope, this is my girl. Nobody's gonna mess with my girl, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes. It's been my understanding that as a light worker, you also have a protector. Steve was your protector.
Yeah.
And this is why he's there with you all the time and still with you so strongly, because he's feeling the need to fit that role still, and he's trying to hold you.
Yeah, it fits, because he's very protective. He's always been very protective, so that makes perfect sense. I did have, well, it goes into all of that. Have you ever done any journeying? Because I did a journey where I fell into a past life, Native American past life, and he had died. He and I have gone through these cycles many times, and he was a hunter and he had died. And I left the tribe and went away, and I could see myself in this cave. And I looked out, I'm standing there at the edge of the cave, and I'm looking across the field. There's these horses, like the old horses, like with the little bitty manes, and kind of they're smaller. They don't look like what we're used to seeing. It was like golden reeds all around them. And I could see all of a sudden the horses just kind of split. They just kind of moved away from something. And as they were doing that, this big wolf, black wolf with these golden eyes, came walking right between the horses. And he came up to the cave, and I looked right at him like, oh, okay, hello. Like I knew him. And he just went around to the other side of the fire, and he laid down, and I could see his golden eyes just sitting there looking at me. And I think that was Steve, even in that lifetime.
I was just going to tell you that, yes. Yeah. He is, his inner power was a wolf. He comes to you as a wolf for you to see him. This is how you see him. Yes.
Yeah. And in that journey, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing him still there, but as the wolf energy.
Absolutely. Yes. This is something that I am just actually really learning. I mean, I'm still discovering who I am and what this is all about, and things are still coming to me. But light worker is the last thing I'm learning about, a lot about, and the ins and outs and the ups and downs and, everything like that. And it's just crazy what the knowledge I put together on light workers and how this actually goes. But a light worker has a protector. Sometimes the protector or the light worker has to leave. We've signed up for our day to depart before coming here. So if that day comes, we kind of leave that partner, that person. When you find that person and you have to leave them behind, I imagine this is the hardest thing in the world to ever have to do, to know that you're not going to be there and be there for them. But from what I'm gathering, light workers and their protectors, when you do meet, you're each other's. A light worker and a protector is the same as a protector and a light worker. So they kind of, we mesh together, you and Steve. Absolutely, mesh together so well.
Yeah, there's just something about it. I could tell that early on. It was like, this isn't normal. It's not like I every now and then you'll read a story about it, but it didn't feel normal. I had people telling me, well, no, he can't come around right away. You're not going to see from him. He's going to go off into healing. And, they would give me all that stuff. And I'm like, no, I really think he's here. Like I would get out of the shower and he would be dancing a slow dance with me, or he would, just there was so many ways that he was making himself known to me. And And then I thought, well, this isn't going to last. You know, I had a really good psychic talk to me, and she gave me beautiful messages, and I knew they were from him because they would just fit so perfectly. And there were things that there was no way she could know that I had been thinking certain things, you know, about my wedding rings or what, anything like that. But she said, well, he's going to stay with you for about a year, and then he's going to, and I'm like, a year started coming around. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to, and then he's like, nope. I can see him with his arms crossed like this across his chest. He's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Not going,
you know, like he's doing his thing. Busy, but he made it clear the other day. I was in the shower. It's like, it's so funny, us and all of our humanity. We're like, well, they don't have that much time. And he's laughing at me. He's like, what's time? Like, I can do 16 things at one time. I could do 1,000 things at one time. He said, we don't have any time here. Of course I can be with you. As soon as you call me, I'm right there. Or if I was having a bad dream, or if you know, he's like, I was always there. It didn't matter if you were too far down and you couldn't sense it.
Absolutely. And if you've noticed, most people now have let go of watches and clocks in a time schedule because I mean, we really have nowhere to go or to be.
That's right.
Really, not that it has to be. We're not on a time schedule, you know. Pretty much the whole world just kind of shut down, and this is how we were supposed to be. Like heaven, there's no time. Just let
it's
it
all
go.
about learning that too.
Yeah,
we knew it, you know, we do know it at a core level. We know that there's really no, like these things that we're so human. We're like, well, God must judge us. And, you know, all these, like, you must be angry and you must be punished. And I'm like, nope, because that's not possible. Those things aren't possible on the other side. And Steve has really given that to me. He's like, no, there's really nothing but love. You know, if it comes out of any kind of, if it's judgment or something like that, that's all man-made. We're humanizing God, and time is ridiculous because there is no time on the other side. So yes, we're affected by it because we're human beings. Steve is not.
And I'm a person that I live by a schedule. I live by a list. I mean, I'm just that person. I have to have everything in order. And that's far away from my birth sign. I'm supposed to be spontaneous, but I'm not. So I just had to live this way. Now I don't even care. I'm just letting it go, and I let my body tell me what to do this, you know, during this day, what's going to happen, and I let spirit guide me on where to be, what I'm looking for, you know, because in this time and day, we had to put this center together in 5 days. It was not pre-planned. So we had a budget that we had to live by to make, you know, we had to live still in our personal lives and then afford to put this place together. So I followed intuition all the way. I followed spirit's guidance, and it has led us everywhere that we needed to be, even for the actual building space. Because when we called about this on a Sunday, Monday morning, we received the call. He said, it's taken. I have a verbal agreement. So I have to honor the verbal agreement. So I'm like, I looked at Tony and we just kind of breathed really heavy. And I said, he's not done with us. He's calling us back. The next morning, he called us back and said, you know, I just can't get you girls out of my mind. But I have to honor this, this verbal agreement. So, okay. I'm like, well, then why does he keep calling us? I said, he's not done yet. He's coming back. That afternoon, he called and said, I can get you in there to see it if you'd like to. I looked at Tony and I said, well, you know, if he was really interested in the other people and he was not going to give this to us, then he would not call us back like this time and time again. So, and he would not get us in there to see it. So absolutely, we're going to get this place. He gave it to us that afternoon. So it was the other place couldn't get a license. So they were having trouble like getting a license for their business, and they couldn't get an underwriter, which worked in our benefit because this is exactly where we want it to be.
That's excellent.
Dead center of the city.
Yeah, you had your little guides and your angels were back there, like they're maneuvering things around. They're like, no, this is gonna work. This is not fun.
Paint for the walls, because we needed a massive amount of paint, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is really gonna bite. And so we happened to find the exact paint we needed for $30 for a 5-gallon bucket. So we got 2 of them that were there. It's like, yes. You know, I just follow my intuition, my guides everywhere, and they got us all the best deals on everything that was needed. It was crazy.
That's intuition, you know, like we fight it. We're like little humans and we're like, I got this great I love the Jiminy Cricket thing. Like, I've got this voice and it's given me this, and it's so easy. Like, it led me right exactly to where I wanted to be. And I, like, and then we're like, I don't know if I trust it. Like, maybe I just won't listen to it. But it's, I've done that most of my life, surely. I've got to do things the hard way. Yeah. I'm learning now, and it's absolutely incredible to see. You can just sit there and you can see how easy it is when you just listen to this and stop listening to this all the time.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I had 24 hours to myself of being happy and blissful, and then it was like, you're on the go again. So I'll rest when they say I can.
So tell us, while you've got time here, tell us a little bit about this that you're talking about, so that people that don't know what you're working on.
Okay, we are opening up a healing center, a spiritual healing center, where we are offering a lot of healing modalities. We are offering massage therapy, hot stone treatment, let me see, Reiki, crystal healing, crystal surgery. Let me see, tarot readings of many sorts. There's a lot of tarot readers coming through here, and channeled messages. 2 of us do that. And so, yeah, we've just got all kinds of stuff going on. Past life regression, hypnosis. Wow, lots. I wear many, many hats.
You don't even know yet.
My certs are all back here. I wear many hats.
I was looking at your wall
I'm
of
looking
fame.
for about 6 more. Yeah, so I'm addicted to learning more and more and more. So absolutely.
It's incredible. You're doing something beautiful. I've always wanted one. It's funny because like 3 years ago, I was like, I really feel like I'm going to have a healing center, and it's going to be in the mountains. I just insisted that I was going to have a healing center in the mountains. And then I got led to the mountains, and I'm like, okay, I'm just waiting. I'm just going to be patient now.
I see you moving up the mountain. So absolutely.
I'm sitting right at the base of the mountain, so it's okay. But I keep watching because the prices keep dropping with all this stuff, and I keep watching. And Jim is looking for something too. It's funny, he was laid in my lap too. It's like, he's like, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm like, just hang on, Jim. I don't have all the answers yet. Like, we don't have to have the answers. We're just listening. We're being patient, and we're waiting for opportunities. And
absolutely,
when you open up to it, like, our boss is God. Think about it. Source, whatever you want to call on, there's no greater power here. So of course all the pieces will fall into place when you're in the right place, when you're I'm not saying when you're in the right space here, when you allow yourself to just let go. Then it's like,
absolutely, okay. Yes, absolutely.
You should have done that a long time ago. I can hear my guides now. They're like, you little toddler, if you'd have just stop trying to dress yourself.
I know. There's so many times I wished 40 years ago, I wished I would have just accepted what was there. But I waited until I was 50. When I hit 50, I said, okay, let's check this out, see what happens. And it's been a blessing ever since. So
life begins at 50.
What was that?
You know that now.
Right?
So, yeah. Like, you gotta hit the 50th birthday.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. That is what I got. Oh, happy. Oh,
it's okay. Yes. It's beautiful where we're going. I think that the more open you are to spirit, the more you're going on your path, the easier life gets, and the slower we seem to be aging. It's like we just kind of start to go backwards a little bit. It's like,
absolutely, yes. I even have discovered this summer that I have the spirit of a son that I never gave birth to. I miscarried him and never ever talked about him. Never. I just buried it and let it go, and come to find out that he hangs out with us just the same. And raising a spirit child is not too much different than raising a human child. There's still laws and rules and all that stuff. Yeah, you still have to make sure you have to set boundaries. Absolutely, or spirit will run you all over the place.
I found that's true. Like, even my grandmother, I've talked about that sometimes. I had this awesome experience with her, I was driving down the road. I was all by myself and I smelled her perfume. And I'm like, and I was just coming into this and I was like, oh, grandma is here. Well, my daughter, when she was little, she always spent time with my grandmother. It was her great grandmother. She never got to meet her. She came after my grandmother passed. And my grandmother was all grandma. She was my rock. She was the one that just always was reading us stories and making us cookies and just the sweetest, my person. And so here I'm driving in the car and I smell her and I'm like, Grandma, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna talk to you. What's it gonna hurt? So I started talking to her and I was like, Grandma, thank you so much for being close to us. Thank you for spending time with Abby. And all of a sudden she went, bam, like right out of my third eye. I had this huge pressure, like a bolt of light just shot right out of my third eye. And I yelled out, I am Abby. And my hand came over my head like that. And I went, how is that possible that I always sensed that maybe she was, like my grandmother, how we've got all these layers. And so like a part of us is always on the other side. And, we're living in who knows. I'm not even going to try to get into all that, but somehow when my middle son was very, very close to my grandmother, and he said, when he found out that I was expecting a little girl, he said, that's my great grandma coming back to me. And so I really believe that she came through. It's just like, part of her really is in that little girl. That little girl is just a caretaker. She's like 90 years old. She's very, very wise. So I believe that. And I always saw it in her in her eyes and stuff. She reminds me so much of my grandmother. But the story is that I had to talk to my grandmother about that because I was going 70 miles an hour down the highway. There was like 6 lanes of traffic and all of a sudden she shoots out of my third eye. And I was like, Grandma, thank you so much. I love you so much for coming to visit. And next time, could you wait until I pull the car over to the side of the road? Because that's the thing, like you were just talking about, is I don't know that they're all that clued in on what we can manage in a physical body sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. They're, you hear so much talk about how draining this is on the spirit aspect of giving a reading or dealing with spirits altogether. People always talk about it drains them. So, but it also drains you just the same. Yeah. It took me, oh my gosh. I remember when I first started, I did 2 readings at one time and it drained me. I slept so good. Then, so this is why I've increased as I go along, after so long, I increase it a little bit to kind of build my stamina. It's like building a muscle. It truly is. When you are trying to build the pineal gland, it's like trying to build your muscle and it's got to grow stronger. So, then I went to like 5 people knocked out. I was just annihilated after that. 10 people, 20 people, and it was just the same as, now I'm up to 50. So, I think my highest was 52 at one time.
You're my hero because I do one-on-one sessions and I don't do them regularly. I'd love to, but when I do them, that was funny to say it that way. But when I do have a session with someone, I'm right there with you. It's like, we're getting the same energy. It's coming through us. I mean, it's not like we're actually healing, but the energy is channeling through us. And so it's so exhausting. Not only that, but I'm such an empath. So when I'm working with somebody, I'm feeling everything. It's like, oh, I can feel this energy moving. I can feel the pain if they're in pain. I can feel all these things. And by the time I get done, I'm just about dragging myself to like out to the kitchen, like, what do I got to have? Anything, something. And a lot of times if they're really difficult, if they're having a lot of pain or there's been a whole lot of healing going on, you realize that, we're getting the healing too. It's a gift. Like I'm channeling this healing. So it's going through me too. So I tell them, like, you need to take really good care of yourself for a couple of days. This is going to keep on going. And you really need to take good care of yourself, drink a lot of water and do all this. And then I forget to do it for myself. And I'll go off, do all the things I always do. And then I'm like, why am I so tired? I've got all these headaches. And I'm like, well, because I didn't listen to myself.
I've through a series of all of a sudden the spirits that are the most attracted to me and come through to me are usually spirits that have committed suicide.
Wow.
And these are the ones that I choose to more or less specialize in. And these ones are very draining, very, very draining. They can really, really take a toll on you. And I think that came about through one of my gifts was actually being able to feel the way that a person
Mhm.
passes.
Right.
And so they started letting me feel how they passed, and it just became the the readings for these are much more raw, they're much more
Mhm.
intense. And I think that's why I do these ones more than I do others.
Mhm.
But they're, we can pick or choose, whether we want to specialize in something like this or whether this is too much and I don't want that part of it. Um, I just choose to run to it, I guess, because
Mhm.
I feel
You're
as
like
if
one of
those
those
are
that
the
runs
ones
into
that
the
are most
fire.
needed. Yes, absolutely. I am that one that runs into the fire.
Me too. Me too. If I see somebody, if it's somebody burning building, I'm gonna run in. I can't seem to stop myself. And the bigger the emergency, the calmer I am. We're just
Yeah,
made that way for some reason.
absolutely. Me too. I do what I have to do and I'll think about it later.
Yeah. Then later you just crash and burn. It's like,
Absolutely. Yes.
mm. That's what I keep saying too with him. It was like, and I want to pull it back to that. I don't know what time it is. I've got my there we go. Spent a few minutes. um, you gotta expect that I'm gonna throw a little childlike behavior in on this because that's all I talk about. Um, no, I do believe that that's why I remember asking him. I'm like a number of times, Steve. I'm like, why? Okay, let me just ask you, man, because like I could have been the one to go, and like it would have been much easier for me to go and to not have to go through that loss
Right.
of losing him. But I do believe he's made it really clear is that I was made for this. It's like this is why we are the way that we are. It's why I'll run into a burning building. It's why I could sit beside him and I didn't freak out when he died. There was nothing like I fought for him. I wasn't gonna let him go. I was gonna carry him to a bigger city. I was gonna find somebody. We only had 6 weeks to fight this. We went from healthy to gone in 6 weeks. And so I was still in fight mode. I was like gonna do anything.
Absolutely.
When he decided, I told him, I said, I'm gonna fight this as hard as I can for every second. Whatever I've got in me, I'm gonna fight this until you tell me that you're ready to let go. And when you let me know that you're ready to let go, I'm gonna be right there and help you all the way through that too. And so, on the day when I knew, it was like he just surprised me. It's like he didn't give me any warning. He went to sleep. I laid him down. I tried to get him comfortable. He said, "I love you." Those were his last 3 words. I heard him sleeping more soundly than he's ever slept before. The next morning, I could tell that he was going. He wasn't responsive anymore. And instead of being that hysterical person that just freaked out, and I was like, I just went to my kids and said, "This is what's going on." And I called hospice back in and I climbed up in the bed beside him. And for 5 hours, I sat there in the most, what's the word? It's you would think that you would be in this horrible pain and you'd just be freaking out. Instead, it's just absolutely one of the most beautiful experiences going through that dying
Yes.
process with someone. It's like childbirth all over again. I felt like I was,
Absolutely.
I've
Yes.
gone through childbirth 6 times and it's just as beautiful and maybe more so.
Absolutely. I think
Afterwards, I
more so.
melted down.
Yes, absolutely. I met a couple a few years ago, and I was unaware of exactly why, but everyone's in each other's lives for a reason. And she happened to be our prosecuting attorney, and her husband was a paraplegic who had lost his legs to a long battle with cancer. And he went through the radiation and chemo. And then 17 years after stopping the radiation, he had lost his legs to the radiation. And so I think in a way she kind of sensed something was coming, but didn't know what. And so they hired me to come in and clean their house or once a week. And I think it was more to be a companion, to be
Right.
there while he was there. And so, yeah, I'll do it. I wasn't doing anything else. I'll go do it. And so we became friends. And it went from he would meet me at lunchtime in the kitchen. He would have his lunch and he would talk to me. We would share stories. And, he was much, much, much older. And cut the story short, after about a year or so of working for them, all of a sudden, um, things were just off. And he wanted a reading. They wanted a reading. So I gave him a reading. And then I understood because his mother came through and wanted to address his fear of passing.
Right.
Nobody knew that he had a fear of passing but him. So that's all they talked about was him and his fear of passing. By the time I was done giving him the reading, he was not afraid anymore. When we left there, I told Tony, I said, if I didn't know any better, it's as if he's starting the process.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a year ahead of time that the process started to be put into actions of his leaving. And so when it come right down to it, I went through a lot of stuff with him, and it got to the point to where he was having me throw his breakfast in the drain at 5:30 in the evening and turn the water on and turn the garbage disposal on so his wife wouldn't know that he wasn't eating. I met up with her at Tony's work, was a doctor's office, and I told Tony, and Tony had me tell her. So I'm bawling my eyes out because this man and I became very good friends. And I told her my suspicions is that he's going. And so she called the doctor. They called hospice in. So this was in like within 2 weeks, I got to go in, and she had me become a very big part of the hospice care for him. So I could read where he was at on his, and let her know on his journey home. And so the last time I got to read for him, he showed me what all I can describe is the Great Wall of China. It looked like this. And he had 2 procession lines all the way as far as my eyes could see for miles. One side was military mixed of every branch that there is, all mixed together, all saluting him. The other side was family, friends, his children, and so on. His first, oh gosh, who was it? Coach. He had all these personal people all lined up. And so it was like the Great Wall of China, and I got to see them all waiting for him. And it was the next morning that the next day he had passed away. And so I got that first view of what it was like. And it is the dying process is not exactly ugly on their part. It is not. It might be for us as humans, it can be very hard. But for them, I understand what you say. It was a beautiful process.
And it's like in the end, it's like what he said was it was like stepping into the next room. We think, oh my gosh, this is such a big transitional thing. And for him, it was just like, no, I just like stepped out and he stepped into the next room. He didn't go someplace so far away, and it wasn't difficult and it wasn't really painful. The only painful part for him was getting to the point where he realized that he was going to die. That was difficult for him because he still had, his kids were young, and Abby was only 9 and he had raised her. So he still had all of these children, and he had me, and he didn't want to leave. He was very, very much set in the idea of staying here. And so that was the difficult part for him, was being able to allow himself to let go. And I knew, it was like I could see it in him that when he finally decided that he was going to do that. And I think the only reason why he decided to go as quickly as he did is because it was making me, I was not eating, I was not sleeping, there was so much on me. And I looked at him, and I could see it in those eyes. He's like, yep, it's time. I'm just going to go. And he went nobody, hospice was like, I can't believe you're calling us back right now. He went so fast because he had that much love. It's just, I love you so much. I'm not going to watch you suffer anymore. I'm going to stop.
Absolutely. Yes. I can't help but think that, I almost have to believe that there's so much compassion on their part in this process, that they actually do have. And at a time like that, imagine that they do have our best interest in their minds as they are passing. It can't get more beautiful than that. It really can't.
Because they're already seeing the other side. I could tell that he was already, he was fighting it at first. He was fighting it, and then he came to a peace about it. And I know that he was able to see the plan. I wrote about that once. It was like he was given in that haze and all those drugs and whatever. He was just gone from me. I couldn't communicate with him. And during that time, he was already seeing the other side. He was already visiting. He already knew what our plan was. And so it made it easier for him to say, okay, like, I know he figured it out. was in my bathroom floor, literally. This is when my healer really came out, my inner healer. I was on my knees just calling on anybody. I was just like begging, and my hands would just light up. And it was like I had like lightning bolts out of my fingers. And I would go into him. He'd be laying there in the bed, and I would put my hands over him, and I could feel where his illness was. And I was like really feeling that energy in him. And I'm like, no, they're giving it to me. I'm going to be able to heal this man. Like I know I'm making a difference here. And the truth of that is that he required less pain med. He died peacefully. He died easily because that was my job. My job was not to save him. Sometimes the plan is that they are meant to leave when they leave. And he did not die 1 second sooner than he was supposed to. He was there. He even told me, I stepped aside for you. And it made me mad. When I first heard him say that, I was like, why would you do that? But I can see the plan now, so there's so much more to this.
Yeah, yes,
there's so much more. Yeah.
So much more to life, to everything.
And I love that he comes in. We're almost out of time, but I love that he comes in and he shows himself to different people, and he allows himself. Hold on, let's get just a couple minutes of it. Because I feel him right now. And so we're just going to let him, like, okay, Steve, you get the floor for just a couple of minutes. Bring it in, bring it. Go ahead. Like,
absolutely.
There's so much love that he brings that it just absolutely stops me in my tracks. I'm thankful that we have gotten to the place where I can breathe and talk through his presence, because I didn't used to be able to. But it's this, I've learned how to channel source energy. I really believe that that's what it is, that I am able to channel his energy, and then it just kind of comes. And when we're doing these, a lot of times when I'm meditating with people, or I'm working with people, it's that.
Absolutely.
That's the truth of who we are. He's showing me the truth of who we are as individuals. The truth, what you are is so beautiful, every one of us, and so incredible. And the love that you have inside of yourself. And if you can just access that, just realize how incredible, like, that's just amazing.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm always talking about self-love. It's so important to love yourself. It really is. Because when you start doing that, you do. Yes.
Yeah, that's when you
yourself up to so much beauty.
Yeah. And then we go into the inner child. You'll get me started, and we don't have time for that. But really, it's like my first step was to look at myself in the mirror, and I still do it. I have to. Sometimes I give myself a hard time still, and I have to look at myself and say, "Hey, stop!" I'll hear him over my shoulder. You're beautiful. Like I can hear him. He's just like, and I'm putting on makeup yesterday. He's like, "You don't need that makeup." And I'm like, "But I'm still in physical form, okay? You're not. I know you're gorgeous. Like there's no fault in you at all. I'm still in physical form, and I still got to put myself out there." So that's he's just. I'm thankful for the show and for the opportunity. I'm so thankful to you, Sally, because there's been so many times that you've brought messages for him, that you've helped me to communicate better, to understand better what he's trying to teach me. And I'm so thankful that you've come on and be the first guest on the show, because it really hits home. It's incredible. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Anytime. I always love the whole Diane and Steve story. So anytime I get to access that love that you two had for each other, I'm in.
Just call on it.
That's
what I just heard him say.
Me, so it does. So if you could bottle that up and sell that, everybody would have this way beautiful heart.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
he's incredible. But that's it. He's transitioned into being everything. Like, of course, that's his rainbow. That's his, because why wouldn't he? Like, he's everything. That's us.
Absolutely.
To become everything again. So it's a blessing to be able to feel that. And it's my miracle, and I'm happy. I'm so glad to have a platform to share that. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's going to be a beautiful show, and I wish you all the best with this. So
thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing your next guest.
Next guest, let's say that really fast. The next guest is somebody that helped me in loads, and Steve brought me directly to him in so many ways. And so our next guest, next Thursday at 7 p.m. will be Paul Wyrostek. So we'll be looking forward to that too, because that's going to be a powerful time. He's got some really incredible stories to share too. So looking forward to that. So I think we're out of time tonight. I thank you so much for just about, we got 1 second, 1 minute. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Nope, check us out as Enlightenment. We have a website out there, we have a Facebook group, and we have a learning center even. So I'm teaching
Yeah.
classes there too, and
Growing.
just busy in a center.
Yeah.
So, you know.
You're growing so fast. It's amazing to watch it. So I'm thankful. I'm watching you. I'm learning from you. Thank you so much for all the work that you do.
You are very welcome. Thank you for what you are doing. Just the
All of us little light workers, we're all in this together, aren't we?
same. Yes, we are. Like a bunch of busy bees. So absolutely.
Thank you so much to all of you that are watching. Maybe one of these weeks I'll be better at the technology and I'll actually be able to see your comments. But for tonight, thank you so much for being with us and for joining us. And we are so grateful to you. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, Dan.
Hold on. Stay with me a second.
Alrighty.
No, we're just going to let it go. Good night.